All right, guys, welcome into the Go 247 podcast. I am Glenn West, senior writer here at the site, joined once again by Dylan Sanders, our contributing writer here. It's been a little while for Dylan. Can't really actually recall the last time he hopped on a pod with us here. It's been a couple weeks, but just letting him enjoy the last holiday as a student, getting to spend some time with family. Hope you guys had a great holiday season as well. Got the new year coming up here pretty soon, but before that, I should say after that, directly after that, LSU has a bowl game, a Citrus Bowl game here on January the 2nd. So we'll release this thing prior to that game being played. So hopefully you guys are finding it pretty good. But yeah, I mean, Dylan, how's your holidays been, man?
Yeah, it's been good. It's better than being in school.
Yeah.
And good spending time with the family and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, it's been chill. I haven't had to worry about much football. Just been able to sit back and relax. Of course, the Saints. You know, that's a whole nother topic.
Oh,
Yeah. Overall, it's been a good little break. Good little break. And then now with SEC basketball picking up and
yeah.
with the bowl game in a couple days, it's fun getting back into the action.
Yeah, I mean, LSU basketball opened up with a big win against Arkansas on I guess what on Wednesday. They opened up SEC play with a tight win. I was in the building. Really electric win for the Tigers. We'll dive into some more basketball talk in a later pod, but today obviously want to talk about a number of football topics that have been kind of sweeping LSU football up over the last couple of weeks. Or really the last couple of days, actually. I mean, the big news that broke on Wednesday, obviously, Kayshon Boutte, LSU's receiver for the last 3 years here, had a little change of thought. He's now off to the NFL. The first news that broke was that he was not going to be playing in the Citrus Bowl for a violation of team rules. They wanted to keep that internal. And then a couple hours later, Boutte announces that he is going into the NFL draft. This comes just a couple weeks after he had announced he would be returning for his senior season. So, not the Kayshon Boutte sweepstakes, man. The news cycle of Kayshon Boutte has certainly been a revolving door. One that I think his career can certainly be summed up as one of the greats. I wouldn't put him in that upper echelon of LSU receivers, maybe just a tier below the Odell Beckhams, Jamar Chases, Justin Jeffersons of the world. But Jarvis Landry, can't forget Jarvis Landry either. But yeah, I mean, just a really bizarre career for Kayshon. Came out, had such a great first year and a half with the program. Really looked to be one of the all-time greats here, and then that ankle injury he suffered kind of stumped his sophomore season. Junior season was kind of rife with inefficiency and just kind of inconsistency on the field. Looked like he was starting to gain some chemistry with starting quarterback Jaden Daniels towards the end of the year. Really, I think another offseason with those two, and that could have been something really special. But just Dylan, your overall takeaways here of the Boutte saga and it finally coming to an end with this decision.
Yeah, it's I wish I could say it was surprising. Just kind of with how no one expected the news really, but with how this all has gone with Kayshon and how it's been with the coaching staff after he got a potential suspension. It's like you kind of could have seen this coming. Like it's not out of the possibility. Like, okay, well, is he kind of just done with it? And it seems like that was the case.
Yeah.
So
Well, we lost Dylan here for a minute. I'm going to let him redo his audio for a second. Just going to kind of bounce off of those thoughts a little bit. I mean, look, Kayshon is obviously one of the all-time greats. I think he had a really nice career here, but I do think it opens up some opportunities now. I mean, I think probably the biggest news outside of Kayshon leaving was just the the timing of the decision is kind of what I think ruffled some feathers, and just what would that have done with Jack Besh if Boutte had announced earlier that he was going to the draft, that kind of thing, and you certainly lose a talented player in Jack Besh.
Yep.
So we got Dylan back here, but just following up on all that, I think it's just a situation now where LSU moves on and they have a lot of weapons at their disposal. Look, I mean, you got Malik Neighbors returning, you've got Brian Thomas returning. Aaron Anderson was a huge pickup out of the transfer portal, a guy who doesn't have a lot of on-field experience, at least offensively, but has a ton of potential in this offense. You got him to go along with Kyron Lacey, and then the freshman that you signed, Shelton Sampson, and Kyle Parker and Kai Preen. Just a really good, solid nucleus, I think, of receiving talent here. Guys that I think we all expect to step up into some huge roles. But I guess just finish your thoughts there on Boutte and just kind of the impact maybe of that decision and kind of how it how this roster looks, I guess, moving forward.
I mean, yeah, the obvious question mark is how that impacted Jack Besh, how that would have impacted Jack Besh next season. But overall, there is, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there is a world where Kayshon leaving is a net positive for the program in terms of there are now less mouths to feed in that hugely talented wide receiver room, maybe some less distractions, because obviously he's a great player, but for the past 2 years, it's kind of felt like the talk has outweighed the production, just in terms of the conversation around him. And, obviously great player, wish him the best in the NFL, where I think he really can, he's still super, super talented. So he'll make his mark in the NFL, but there is a world where this is a net positive for LSU. Because I think the talent's there. The team, LSU's going from being one of the best wide receiver rooms in the SEC to being one of the best wide receiver rooms in the SEC. It's not like now all of a sudden they have to who are we gonna play? They have their best receiver from last season coming back in Malik Neighbors, and then plenty of other people developing, and then some incoming players who are going to play, like Kyle Parker can play. Will eventually fill that Kayshon role in the slot, in my opinion. Sheldon Sampson has a lot of talent. Jalen Brown's super fast. Aaron Anderson, we haven't seen him play football in a while, but he was a dynamic talent.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I think that there's a lot of potential there with this program, and just kind of with this receiver room in particular. Now you get a whole nother year with Jaden Daniels, and getting that extra chemistry with those guys. It's extremely important, and I think we saw that blossom last year with Neighbors. I'm looking at a potential offseason now where maybe Brian Thomas gets thrown into the fold a little bit more consistently. He's always been kind of your vertical big play threat guy, but I have a feeling Brian Thomas is going to have a really big 2023 campaign.
I wanted to add something off of something you just said.
Sure.
Right now, we do just need to point out the fact that Kayshon is not leaving because Jaden Daniels is coming back. There is a growing, for some reason, a growing sentiment that was the reason, not the reason at all. Put that to rest. That's not what happened.
Very much not the reason.
Very much not the case. So I feel we just needed to address that.
Yeah, it was a violation of team rules. We won't go into any specifics there, but it's a violation of team rules, and I think it was just a matter of the player just wanting to move on, just move on from the program, cut his losses, and head for the NFL, where he will likely be a low first round, day 2, day 3 kind of guy, and that means a lot of money for him. So I think we could probably shift gears now into the actual game itself that we got coming up here on Monday afternoon at noon. LSU will be playing a very depleted Purdue team. I kind of likened it earlier in the week in some stuff that I wrote, just to very similar to where LSU was at, I think, a year ago, in terms of just the program shifting at this time. Purdue is announced that their interim coach, Walters, I think is Ryan Walters, he is now the permanent head coach. So they're keeping some continuity there in terms of promoting from within. They have some really interesting assistant coaches, one by the name of Drew Brees, who is coming in to help prepare the quarterback room for this bowl game. So that's very interesting to have Drew on the sidelines against an LSU team that no doubt has a lot of conflicting Louisiana fans in terms of personalities, in terms of just rooting for Drew Brees for all those years while he was with the Saints. But a really interesting game. LSU comes in favored by 14.5 points. I think just off the talent that this Purdue team has lost, it's very warranted. LSU, I think, is coming in. Everybody talks about the players that aren't playing for LSU, the BJ Ojolaris, the Ali Gays of the world, but they also have, Jark Bernard Converse, Jay Ward. These are guys that are moving on in the secondary after this game, but they will be playing for LSU. So you get some continuity in the backfield, in the back end of the defense there for LSU. I guess we can start with LSU in terms of goals for this game. I think probably the goal for LSU is to not only just get out healthy, but to get some of these younger guys some looks. I mean, look, Jaden Daniels is going to play a lot, but I would love to see Garrett Nussmeier in this game. I would love to see Walker Howard in this game. Would love to see some of the younger receivers in this game as well. Get some extended looks. We haven't seen Landon Ibieta play, but he's been going through practices now. He's been dealing with a little bit of an injury for most of his true freshman year. Wouldn't mind seeing him get thrown out there if this is a game that you have in hand by the second half. Would certainly like to see those guys get opportunities. And there's a number of guys. I mean, you want to talk about the defensive side of the ball with Quincy Wiggins off the edge. Savion Jones is going to be big games for those two guys, helping fill that role left behind by Ali Gay. And then on the other side, you're going to have probably Harold Perkins in that BJ Ojolari role, that Jack linebacker role, and creating some havoc here on the Purdue side of things. So just a really entertaining matchup, I think, in terms of the young guys that LSU is going to be welcoming into this game. I think that when you look at just the Purdue side of things, there's a lot of players that are kind of out right now. With their starting quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who is now kind of out for a while. He's somebody that he's declared for the draft, and so when you talk about just some of the Purdue guys that are going to be missing this game, I do think LSU is going to have a really distinct advantage, being able to be able to pull this one out. Dylan, I know you wrote about some of the Purdue guys that are going to be out of this game. Just talk about it from the Purdue side of things. I mean, just the guys they're going to be missing, the players are going to be relying heavily on the Purdue side. And you're muted. We're having some technical difficulties today with Dylan, so bear with us. But he's pushing through. We'll figure it out. But I think right now when you look at kind of the Purdue side of, there we go. Yep.
All right.
You got to start with the quarterback, right?
Yep.
Right, Dylan. Let's get through this.
Yeah. So they're going to be on their the second string quarterback, Austin Burton, who played a game in September. So LSU will have a good idea of what they're working with there. But really, it's about what is Austin Burton working with, because they're without Charlie Jones or Payne Durham, who were really the offense for most of it. They're going to be relying on Devin Mockabee, the running back, a lot because he is there. He didn't reach 1,000 rushing yards this season, but was still their leading rusher by like 800 yards. So and he's also their fourth or second returning receiving option as well, because the passing offense really was just Charlie Jones and Payne Durham. Outside of that, it's a couple of contributors, but nobody really took a major role outside of those two. So it's going to be wide open in terms of who's going to get the ball, who's going to be the focus. We'll probably see a bunch of young guys who want to make a name for themselves with the new head coach and the new coaching staff really try and take precedent. So it's kind of got the feel of the LSU Kansas State game last year, but on the LSU side, where you don't really like what are we going into this game expecting and who's going to play. You don't really know. You really don't know on offense. The defense is actually intact for the most part, and there are a bunch of returning players.
Yeah,
some key people missing on defense as well, but more so they can keep the same identity that they had.
Yeah, they're missing a couple of pass rushers that I think combined for about 4 sacks and 6.5 tackles for loss. But those were kind of, starters, but kind of semi-starters too. They rotated a lot with their defensive line. You mentioned Charlie Jones. He was
they just missed their top pass rusher just entered the portal a couple of days ago as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what his name was.
It's escaping me as well. But yeah, it's I can't remember.
Charlie Jones is the receiver.
Jack Sullivan is the name. Yeah, he was their top pass rusher, and one of their top DBs, Corey Trice, also in the portal. So they have a couple of key players, but overall, it'll be the same defense that they saw.
Yeah, no, you mentioned Charlie Jones. I mean, there's another little tidbit on him. He was second team AP All-American this year at receiver. I mean, he had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns, well over 100 catches. So you just know how much of a significant loss that is for them. Obviously, Aiden O'Connell, who was their starting quarterback, is starting to prepare for the draft as well. So, just a lot of pieces that Purdue is missing heading into this game, and it's why I think LSU has a pretty good advantage. I mean, the line is 14.5. It's pretty much stayed that way in the last week or so. Over the holidays, it hadn't really moved a whole lot since some of these moves have become official. And I think this is just a really good opportunity for LSU, to be quite honest with you. I think, if you look at it from a 2020 technical difficulties all over the place today. Like I said, it's just going to be something where it's a really big opportunity here for LSU, just in terms of getting the program back on track after, kind of 2-game skid there where they lost to A&M on the road. They lost, obviously, the SEC championship game to Georgia. There's no, you weren't going into that Georgia game thinking LSU was going to win, but they did give up 50 points. I'm sure that leaves a sting in the mouths of the defensive players there, and so they're going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, I think, in ending this thing out with a great opportunity for a bowl win. I think probably the coaching staff is gutting it out for one last victory as well. I think that's really important for them to close this thing out well, and it's a good opportunity for these young guys. They're going to be welcoming in 15 early enrollees. Their transfer players. Just having those guys around, or even just watching from a distance. They're not. I'm not sure if those guys are on the trip or not, but just seeing how they do things, I think is going to be really, really important. And for LSU to just get out of here with some fun and some entertainment, and to get out of here with a win, I think it's just going to be extremely, extremely important. So, I think we could probably throw it into some predictions now. I guess I will start. LSU, it's 14.5 point game right now in terms of the spread. I think the over/under is set at 56, and so you're probably looking somewhere in the range of 30 to 20, 30 to 34 to 20, something like that. I think that's kind of where I'm at. We're recording this a couple days before even our preview and predictions piece comes out, so we'll have more of a firm, I guess, score when that piece comes out on Sunday before the game. But I think, look, it's just a really big opportunity here to get the young guys involved. I'm really excited to see what some of these young guys can do. If they can get Walker Howard some significant snaps later in the game, I would love that. Um, and there's still some decisions to be made, on the offensive side of the ball, particularly with the running back room. You got a couple veterans there that I think are really kind of inching or kind of they've got decisions to make. Whether it's John Emery or Armani Goodwin, Noah Kane, those guys. They're I think Josh Williams is going to be a staple of this running back room next year, but outside of that, there's going to be some pretty open competition, I would imagine, throughout this offseason. And which of those guys wants to stick around for it, I think is going to be a major question after this game is played. So that's going to be really interesting. Dylan, just for you, we not locking in a score or anything right now, but just your overall predictions for this game and just kind of how it plays out.
Yeah. So again, like you said, it's more about seeing less about the final score and more about seeing what happens on the field with guys like I want to see a lot from Demario Tolan, who has a huge opportunity with impressing the defensive staff throughout the year. He has a big opportunity to earn himself some playing time with a new look linebacker room next year. It'll be interesting to see again how they use Harold Perkins, if they keep wanting to push him and play him at like the jack linebacker or make him more of a traditional linebacker, and see if they use this game as a little bit of a warm up and seeing who steps up in the secondary, because they do have some veterans playing, but there's not much depth outside of them. So maybe like a Terrence Welsh getting some serious playing time. So it's about the young guys and what they do. And of course, walking away with a win would be huge to get back to a 10-win season. Would be absolutely massive for the confidence of the program, wanting to end the season right. Again, it's a bowl game, so opinions differ on how much it matters, but winning your last game of the year after how the last two games have gone and getting to that 10-win mark would be huge for the program. So I think it's really that it's about going into next year, going to the offseason with some momentum, beating a Purdue team that you should beat. And yeah, just getting a good look at the team next year.
Yeah. I mean, the momentum and the confidence thing is really big. I think for any offseason is to go into it with the right mind, and certainly coming off of a win. Winning a bowl game like that is certainly a way to boost some egos, boost some confidence, and get those players' minds right. And so, I think it's going to be huge for this team to come out and to execute well. Everybody knows what the deal is with Purdue right now in terms of the losses that they've suffered, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to be looking at LSU's offense here just to really see how well they can gel in these after these 15 or so practices they've had since the end of the SEC championship. You've had a banged up Jaden Daniels for the last couple weeks. How does he look coming out of the gate with his ankle? Just a couple of minor stories there, I think, that everybody needs to be watching. And then just, execution. I think that's really, really big in a game like this, and just playing the right way, not playing to your competition and playing your brand of football. Now that they've had a little bit over a month off, just seeing how that translates and how that kind of goes. With so much time in between games, I think is going to be really important for this team and kind of to establish that year one foundation that they've set, that year one precedent that they've set. And so, I mean, with that, I think we've put a nice little preview together on this thing. We've apologized again for the technical difficulties, but I think we got some good thoughts out there, and we'll be back after the game on Monday. We'll certainly get a reaction pod up. We'll be introducing somebody new to the family coming up here in a few days. We're excited about that, and just a little teaser out there. So, but with that, we're extremely excited to see LSU play in this game, and we'll certainly catch you guys in a little bit.